All right, so here we go. All right, so here we are. Game time. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm still up. I was just yapping about hoops on the Casino for Life stream, and one of the big, of course, as everything. it sees a lot of people like messing with us Knicks fans. So everything always comes back to the Knicks. It was the Clippers versus the Rock. I mean, the Rockets versus the Golden State Warriors. Mind you, right? Golden State Warriors, dynasty, Steph Curry, and all that. And it always breaks down to, especially hearing us Knicks fans full up. That conversation will come back to the Knicks. It was a lot of ball being talked. So I love going up to that stream because we talk hoops all around, you know what I'm saying? And Cino's a big Nick hater, he's a big LeBron hater, whatever. And, he gives good content that way. All good. But we are on the, tonight is the night, game one in Boston TD Garden or whatever they call it up there. And, it was ready for war. So I watched pretty much no breakdown. I watched people give certain takes on it, but I didn't watch anybody break it down. I'm going to watch those over the course of the day and see what's what. Okay, so I'm going to see what's what and exactly where we're going when it comes down to what people are saying. But I do see a lot of the national media takes, without much real basketball analysis, right? And again, like on one that Cino showed the video was he showed the Rick Bucher take, and I respect Rick Bucher as a basketball analyst in mine or whatever, but he gave one of the typical punch down on Knicks fans. Want to punch down on the Knicks and punch down on Knicks fans takes, and it is what it is. Those things, I want to always shoot back at stuff like that, saying that, the guy said Jalen Brunson's creeping up. I mean, come on, like the Knicks are a 79-year franchise. The Knicks have been around. They're one of the original franchises. The Knicks, Boston Celtics, and the Warriors are only three franchises, I think. If you consider it, I think the Hawks came in later. They were called the Tri-City Blackhawks or something like that. They might have came in the year after, but with the original Basketball Association of America franchise was Boston Knicks and the Warriors. They were Philadelphia Warriors, I believe, at the time. And Philadelphia might even came in the second year. Again, this is basketball story and shit. But, the panelists, I forget this guy's name. I forget this guy's name. It might have been Jason McIntyre. I think it's Jason McIntyre, the little Weasley guy. But again, he was saying how, and again, for a short guy like that, say I like Brunson. But this is one of those. This is one of those. Again, it's on my mind, and I want to get to the whole Celtics Knicks thing. But it's on my mind because this idea that the Knicks, and again, look, a lot of our destiny was stolen. If you want to get into the history of it, I can bore you with that shit later, but a lot of our destiny was stolen. The Knicks, look, we don't win a lot of championships, and for those, I think that's what it is. And they think that New York fans to have the courage to root for their team. So that's the thing. When it comes to the NBA, there are not a lot of tried and true franchises. And I'm gonna get into Boston because again, I watched the Bill Russell documentary on Netflix last week. And when Bill Russell was winning 11 championships in 13 years, Boston wasn't even filling the Garden for most of those, like especially the early part. Boston never appreciated one of the greatest winners of American sports history because of the amount of ridiculously guile racism that existed there, all right? And, obviously it's not the same Boston team, but you still have this thing with the Boston franchise. I think it's changed over because the 80s Boston team was viewed as a white team, even though they had Cornbread Maxwell. They had Dennis Johnson eventually. They had, what's the guy that came off the bench? LL Carr. They were coached by a black man when He fired Fitch and let Casey Jones coach those years. Bill, obviously that's Bill Russell's running mate. Celtic law. Celtics always had an issue with color in this era. You don't hear about that shit that much. Actually having guys like Pritchard Hauser and Porzingis, even though he's European, that kind of satisfy. If it is any of those guys, there's enough there's enough white guys on the team to, whatever the case. I don't want to get too, again, I can drift in these rants, but the reason I brought all that up is because when you have a franchise like the Celtics, who won championships with a Brooklyn guy, Red Auerbach, basically being the brain. I mean, he is the architect of 16 of those 18 championships. I'm going to say it again, he is the architect. He was considered Danny Ainge the architect of the last two, because he even had his hand, before he went to Utah, he had his hand in the trade that pretty much got them Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown at the very least. Right, fleecing Brooklyn for Kevin Garnett, and then when they went Kevin Garnett and Pierce when they went on their way out, done. So, again, hey, it is what it is. The Knicks should have. A lot of things that the Knicks in their history of this franchise should have done, but at the end of the day, this is why I do. This is why I say this. I speak on the history, because a lot of people don't know the history and they just come up and use it against it. It matters nothing today. And that's the thing. It matters nothing today. So for Rick Bucher, a national guy, to sit there and talk about, because again, Jason McIntyre said how Brunson was one of his, one of the greatest Knicks of all time, which, again, you could say he's top 10. The idea that he's the greatest Knick of all time, come on, let's stop this. Let's stop this. Willis Reed and Clyde Frazier played for us for a decade. And they were great. And they went up against greats. They went up against Jerry West. They went up against Hunt Havlicek and Dave Cowens and JoJo White and Bill Russell. And they went up against Sam Jones. Patrick Ewing went up against Bird, Parrish, McHale. Patrick Ewing went up against even Melo went up against the big three Celtics when they still were a contender, lost to them because he had nothing around him because, obviously not only did the trade decimate the roster, but also the injuries decimate the roster. Once they got to the playoffs, Melo was playing with Jared fucking Jeffries. But then he got a measure of revenge when that was pretty much the last of KG and Paul Pierce and Ray Allen was already gone at that point, playing with the Celtics. So when the Knicks won that series 4-2, they took a 3-0 lead. And we all know we famously dressed up in black for the sweep. And the Celtics come out and took 2 games. And Jason Terry got J.R. Smith to throw the elbow and get the ejection and the suspension and all that. But the Knicks eventually took care of business in Game 6. But it seemed like, even then, in 2013, it seemed like, Boston had a measure of winning that series by just taking 2 games and not getting swept. Either way, the last time that the Celtics beat the Knicks in the playoffs will be 2011, and I get it. The Celtics have had success then. They rebuilt the team. They've done a lot of things, and the Knicks are now here. The Knicks have basically put themselves in a position where, okay, we're going to compete with Celtics. So a lot of people, and they swooped in and they looked at this. They looked at how things going in this season, and they give the Knicks no chance. And that's fair. That's fair. But you're going to have to do that by breaking down basketball and not giving me bullshit like the Knicks haven't been to the finals since '99. The Knicks haven't won a championship since '73. Because guess what? When we won a championship in '73, we knocked out a 68-win Boston team. And not that I'm going to compare this Knicks team. I actually did have hope at the beginning if we could have developed the bench, and if we had gotten guys like Mitchell Robinson and our rebounding situation back sooner, we could have been compared to that 73 Knicks team. But there was a lot of things on that. And again, we don't share the ball enough to be compared to that 73 Knicks team. But what that 73 Knicks team when team did, we were 51-31. Same record essentially what the this team has. They knocked out a 68 win Boston team. The team with Hondo, with Havlicek, JoJo White, and Dave Cowens, right? So, again, that wasn't Russell, right? It would have been special for you. The Knicks had beaten Russell at any point in that decade. But, again, we had built up to be one of the teams post-Russell Celtics. And we won our 2 championships at that point. Again, at that point, Red Auerbach had, if we're gonna talk history, let's talk history. But at that point, Red Auerbach, built the Celtics and what he built. Again, a city did not deserve the Celtics, had the Celtics because of their blatant, disgusting racism. Okay, they treated Bill Russell like shit. A guy who won so many, they didn't care about their Celtics team because they had too many black players. Again, props for Auerbach for just. And he built a team in the 80s that won 3 more championships. He actually did win another one in the 70s and 74. They won the year after the Knicks. They won 3 in the 80s, and then they won the one in 08. So you got 11, 12, 15. So that's what they have 17 now. Yeah, they will be at 17 now because they won in 08, and then they won again in 2000 and just last year, so here we are. I thought they were at 18. They won the 11 with Russell. They won the 12. Either way, the last time that the Knicks played the Celtics, if we're gonna go by history, it was the Melo team. You had a battle with Bernard King and Bernard King, and the Knicks played fairly well against Bernard King in '84, and then they battled again once. The next time they battled was 1990. I think they had a battle in '88 as well. I gotta check that. I think Patrick Ewing and Patino might have lost to the Celtics in '88. If we didn't, we would have lost to the Pistons, but whatever. So look, playoffs is history. Playoff history is, and I think to understand this, to talk about this. Let's talk about these 2 cities. We're 2 cities that don't like each other in sports. We respect each other as cities, But in sports, our teams only the Giants, Patriots, Jets, Patriots, Bruins, Rangers, Red Sox, Yankees, Red Sox, Mets. You know what I'm saying? The Knicks, Celtics. It's always, and even to a small extent, the Nets, Celtics, right? It's always going to be that type of, and again, I would like to say this. We New York does have a superiority complex. We're not in basketball, but just over as a sports town. So here we are. We're playing the Celtics, the defending champion Celtics. We've done this before as a franchise. Now, you can sit there and say that the Knicks are a joke. Yeah, everybody knew that Detroit was going to win. And then when the Knicks beat Detroit, I've said this already on other episodes. When the Knicks beat Detroit, oh well, y'all struggled with Detroit. Wait a minute, y'all said Detroit was that. See, this is the thing. You guys didn't know that because the Knicks gave the Celtics a tough 7-game series. Oh, blah blah blah. See, I'm not one to say it. I'm taking it game by game. I'm taking it series by series. I'm not gonna. I made a bold prediction that I think the Knicks are gonna win in 6, and I'm gonna stand on that. And I'm gonna stand on it because I think there is a weird energy. There was a weird energy during the season because I think the Celtics had more to prove in those games than the Knicks. I think they wanted to prove that the Knicks weren't on our level because they would come out there and play their best shot against the Knicks. And they come out and struggle with the Brooklyn Nets the next game, or come out and struggle with the goddamn Charlotte Hornets the next game. Where's the same energy? And I think now you get to the point where it's a different story here in the regular season. In the playoffs. You might come out and swinging. You might come out trying to swing and get tight. It's a different story in the playoffs, and I get that this Boston Celtics roster has a lot of playoff experience. They understand what they're going through. I get it, but then I also understand that this is a team, a group that seems to feel like they have something to prove against this group of Knicks, and I think that the Knicks, okay. We could have came out but when they gonna make every three, let tip your hat. The next time we play them, a month or so later, same thing happened. And again, then the last game when it seemed like, Boston had nothing to play for yet. See, we've been through that story before where Boston had nothing to win by playing. They played their guys. The Knicks didn't even, one time the Knicks didn't even play our guys. We played we played Brunson one game, and one time we beat the Celtics with Emmanuel Quickly. I'm only saying that, I'm only bringing these things up because even though that Emmanuel Quickly is no longer here, and then Obi Toppin is no longer here, but I'm saying that because this is the same group of Celtics. Celtics have not had that much turnover since those teams. The one that tried to press Brunson full court, and Brunson still lit him up for 30-something points. I think he had 40. I have to look at that game just to check. They pressed them, and then they tried to act like, the Boston Celtics had nothing to play for. But why were you pressing them full court? So, yeah, it is a weird energy. I think it's a weird energy from the city. And, coming in the playoffs, it's going to be a war. And again, from what I've seen with the Knicks, we play a lot of stupid basketball. The Celtics play some smart, but the Celtics have also played some floor basketball as well. So both teams have their flaws and both teams have their strengths. I'm gonna get to the analytic part. The analyzing part of this, review or preview, and say that the Celtics do have an Achilles heel. And again, my Achilles heel is they shoot too many threes. And judging what I got to see in the little bit of the Celtics Magic series that I got to watch. They weren't able to really take that strategy and use it that effectively. Now, they eventually broke away and had a hot shooting half to finish off the Magic, But those first 4 games, again, much like every game of the Knicks Pistons series, could have went either way. It could have went either way. And it's one of those things to say. The Celtics seem to either play up or play down to the level of competition. And again, they came out with the Knicks, and there's a lot of things with the Knicks team that they've exploited. Defensively, we're taking a step back. Our bench took a huge step back. They play at a better pace. They play at a faster pace. But again, I want to just basically say that this is not going to necessarily go down the way it went down in the regular season. I don't think that they're going to be able, if they couldn't do it with Orlando, they're not going to do it with the Knicks. Now, again, everybody says, we got the tools to stop Brunson. Well, we got the tools to slow down. First of all, you got the tools to slow down Brunson and make his life difficult. Because we just went up against one of the best defenders in the league, and that was Thompson, right, on Brunson. And yes, Jrue Holiday is nursing a hamstring, which we all know hamstrings can be tricky. And, the idea, they're going to try to employ something, and they're going to try to make him turn over, and this, that, and the third. Brunson has done very well. I'm not saying he actually, it was just like barbecue chicken or anything, but Brunson has done very well. Yeah, Brunson averaged 28 points. Someone told me he averaged 28 points in the series. He averaged 26 for the season. Like in a head-to-head with Celtics. So the key to the series, obviously, is who gets into their game plan. Celtics have a game plan that relies on heavy low three, and I think the Knicks counter is chasing them off the three successfully enough, covering on switches, and rebounding off misses. I think if the Knicks do that, I think the Knicks coming back have a real good puncher's chance. And I think that's what it is. The Knicks do have 4 guys on this team that scored 17 points and up. Close to, like OG averaged 17.7 and Bridges averaged 17.8 for the season. Then you had the two guys with 26 and 24. All right. So the key is Tibbs ready to trust his bench? Is he ready to, give guys a good share rest so we don't wear down? Because Boston is going to, they're going to interchange. They're going to use their bench. They're going to try to keep their guys fresh. We got to keep their guys fresh. We have to match them punch for punch. And I think this is going to be a slugfest. And I think this is going to be a 6-game series at the very least. Yes, Boston has the easiest chance of sweeping us, right? Boston has the easiest chance of knocking us out. Then we have a chance of knocking them out. Boston is the favorite team, and it should be. I'm not saying that Boston is a bad team, but the idea that they're gonna just toy and run over the Knicks, based on what you've seen in the regular season, is very far fetched. Again, you're gonna need Cat to outplay KP, and you're gonna need Cat to be Cat. You're gonna need Cat to be the All-Star that he was. You're gonna need OG to what he did. And again, I get that Tatum now is a level up from a Cade Cunningham. But you saw what OG is. Cade Cunningham is a first team All NBA, I believe, the same way Tatum is. And again, Tatum has more playoff experience, and he's a better player at this point. But is it that much? I mean, again, OG is gonna have to stay healthy. He's gonna have to be very judicious with OG's minutes. But I do believe, and then Jaylen Brown says his knees feeling good. Again, his knees can feel good, but I don't believe that he was that great this year. To really. I think the key to the Celtics is what you're gonna get from Tatum. It's almost like back with Bull and I was funny. I was famously saying that the Celtics were gonna lose to the Mavericks because they got to Scottie Pippen, and Tatum, while not Jordan, has graduated to being close to Jordan. And, Brown is as a Scottie Pippen. Not the greatest defender. I mean, again, I don't expect him to be 100%. Same way I don't expect, I've said it many times, I don't expect Brunson to be 100%, but I know what I can get from Brunson, even not being 100%. You just don't want to see him go down at the wrong time. He's going to have to nurse his way through this ankle injury and really rehab and rest it for the summer and then get back to working and this, that, and the third. But that ankle is not going to be even close to 100% into the off season. But Brunson has shown you, again, being second in the NBA in the playoffs in scoring, right? Obviously, Tatum is third, and he did that against a very good defensive team in Orlando. So I expect these two to go off. The question is Towns, because the next best players are Towns, Brown, KP. What the Knicks get out of the two wings on both sides of the ball is very key. We need Bridges. We need Bridges to outplay Derek White, plain and simple. And that means Bridges is gonna have to be Bridges. If Derek White goes off and Bridges is sitting there with an inconsistent bad game with 8 points, Bridges is going to get killed and he's going to deserve to be killed, and the Knicks are going to lose. So we need Bridges to outmatch White. We need OG to play the defense that he played on K. And again, you're just going to make things tough on K on Tatum. We're talking about 20. If he's getting 31, we're talking about league minimum 27. If he's shooting 50%, let's lower that to 45. That's the key. Bench-wise, again, Boston clearly has the better bench. The question is I know Tibbs is not going to match him minute for minute, but does Tibbs play a guy like Precious Achiuwa, who didn't get a minute in the Celtics in a Pistons series, to help on the boards? Again, rebounding is the key. A lot of the games when we finally did chase them off the three and make them miss threes, they got offensive rebounds. They shoot another three. That can't happen. That happens, they're just gonna blow the game open. The key is, look, if the Knicks can get a game early, definitely. If we can get game one, if we can get the game tonight, it won't be the end. It won't be the end of the world if we don't. But we must take the game. We must take game two, because then that brings you back to the Garden. with all the pressure on you to take two, because you're then looking at a closeout game in Boston. And, that would pretty much satisfy what everybody felt about the series. And I get it. But I need people to understand. My prediction is it's going to be a war. And it's going to be a war that I think Boston as a team might be a little too overconfident. Boston as a fan base, the media might be too overconfident. I don't think, I've maintained this, even in the first round series, no one has seen the Knicks at their best. Now, again, if the Knicks, and again, we had a much more physical team. Like, Boston's issue is they're not physical, but Boston is really good on their switching, right? So they're not going to physically knock, but they're going to feel like their base defense is just going to match everything we do. And that's on Tibbs to be more imaginative. The offense that we run, we can't run. We can't turn the ball over. We cannot turn the ball over. And it's one of the best teams to turn the ball over this year. And we have to rebound because we were on the worst rebounding teams. We have to play the defense. Again, Mitchell Robinson, those minutes that he plays, I'm hoping he gets to 20, 25 minutes, because this is what we've planned for. If he can get 20, 25 minutes, we can get a lot of good, the double big lineup, mixed in with some, because some Mitch will be on offensive liability. They might employ Hacker Mitch. I mean, if the Boston Celtics employ Hacker Mitch, it tells me that they do have to. I doubt they will, because I think, I don't think that they feel that strategy, they need that strategy to do things. Maybe if they see us get hot and Mitch is on the court, and again, that's on Tibbs to quickly yank him and bring in a better, but I do think we need the size. I need OG to rebound real good. He's been rebounding pretty well. I challenge OG to be a 7 rebound a game player if he's going to play the power forward. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if he's not, then we should not go into the next season, because if he's not, we're going to lose, and we should not go into the off season with OG Anunoby as our power forward. That means we trade one of the two between the wing stop. That means we do that. Whatever big name is out there, we make the trade to do that, because we cannot go into another season being deficient on the rebound. I think, especially if Tibbs is going to be, and I really hope Tibbs gets fired, because, again, win or lose, I don't think he's the guy to get us to that level. Look, we can win the championship this year, and that would probably, but I still think long term, we would have won in spite of Tibbs, unless Tibbs changes his ways. But, again, I've been saying that. I've been consistent on that. And, again, I'm Mr. 10 Toes down. So, but, again, the dismissiveness, again, I'm going to get onto this, because it tells me you're not really paying attention to watching basketball. If you sit there and talk history and what have the Knicks ever done and No, we're going to talk about these teams. You can't talk about these teams if you can't give me anything other than this general bullshit about Knicks history and we beat y'all 4-0, blah, blah, blah. Again, I can see in those games that this Celtics got a little cocky, overconfident. They got a little cocky, overconfident. Again, they're a deeper team. They're a better team. I don't deny that. But this is the playoffs. We've seen anything happen. We just seen the 2 seed get knocked out by the Golden State Warriors. And again, the Golden State Warriors have a pedigree. They have championships, right? Really, if you look at it, only 2 guys from that championship team still there. And then you got Jimmy, who went to two finals. Okay, great. And you played a green team. But again, the 2 seed got knocked out. And I get Boston was a 60-win 2 seed. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna make the prediction of Knicks at 6. I'm gonna make the prediction. I'm gonna make a bold prediction because I have a feeling. The energy. See, again, you said 3. 4-0. How could it's the regular season? Have we not? Let's look at this. The Pistons took us out 3-1. That was a basis for a lot of people's picks. And you can sit there and say the Knicks got it. Okay, cool. The Knicks do play well in close games. If these games are close, the Knicks had a 10-4 record when in games decided by 3 points or less. That, we got the clutch player of the year. Again, a lot of stuff is going to have to break right. I've said this the whole time. But I'm ready to stand on Knicks at 6. I am. I'm ready to stand on the Knicks closing out. And that would be that would probably save Tibbs' job. Even though we were buy them another year, because we would have to win a championship for them to buy them any longer. But I will stay on Knicks at 6, and I know a lot of people call me crazy, and I might be rooting this with my heart. Head tells me Boston is 6, and Boston could easily sweep. And if the Knicks come out and shoot a dud, Tibbs is gone, because again it's like we should be with Cleveland is. In my opinion, we should be with Cleveland. You saw that Cleveland took a game 1 loss to Indiana. A team that I think played better than the Celtics this year. If we're going to base things on the regular season, a team, and I get that they were missing Garland. I get it, but there's no excuse when you have a Ty Jerome who won the 6th Man of the Year. The Celtics can do next man up and get by a team with Drew Hart and get by a team with Brown not being 100%, and so can the Cleveland Cavaliers. But again, I believe that the Pacers are an inferior team to the Knicks, as we toyed with them this year. Again, I'm using regular season, but I feel we were better than them last year. I feel we better. I don't care if they won the series. We all know what happened. They won. We were on our way to a 3-0 series lead, and they won and got game 3 by working the officials. We're gonna expect that. Maybe Joe Mazzulla doesn't play that game, and I would respect if he didn't, because he didn't play that game last year. But I would expect, nobody's playing the game with the official. They call us 100% down the middle. I think the league wants either team. I think the league is happy to have either Boston and the Knicks in the conference finals, and I think we're gonna let the ball decide. So again, I got Knicks at 6. I'm gonna maintain the fact that I do not think Boston is that special, great, or unbeatable. I didn't feel it last year. I felt Cleveland, if Spider and Allen don't get hurt, I feel Cleveland could at least took that series to 7. They took it to 6 as it was. I felt, and I know they swept the Pacers and all that, and it'd be kind of crazy if we saw a Pacers Celtics rematch. I think it would go the same way, because I think the Pacers do have a little swag going on right now, but I think the Pacers, I think the Pacers are just catching teams hurt with key injuries, and that might be an issue. I mean, obviously the Dame situation took the life out of Milwaukee, but they are playing well on all cylinders, right now. And the Knicks aren't, but I do believe the Knicks are a superior team, and we showed it. We didn't just show it by what the regulars. We showed it by how we beat them. How we beat them. And I think, because again, I think we are a team that can match those guys scoring wise, and I think we're a team that can slow them down. But again, that's being here there. I don't want to look forward to any series. I'm looking at the Celtics. Again, the Boston energy, the national media glazing them. I think they read their press clippings, and I think they come and get a battle that they weren't expecting. And I really do think the Knicks, again, this is wishful thinking a lot, but I really do think the Knicks will come out and play very inspired. Again, if not, may no man get too comfortable, because that will put everybody short of Brunson and maybe Cat on the training block. So here we go. I'm gonna end it here. Knicks at 6.